Hi guys, it's John here again, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how you can transfer your ScPrime Storage Provider from your Raspberry Pi onto a dedicated Ubuntu server or computer, which we have here. Now this does fluctuate in price a bit. It's around £200 at the moment, which is about $271, but for that you get a quad core, you get 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gig internal SSD. Now you can get a 256 gig version for a bit more, so it might be worth doing that if you want to store your metadata on the actual system itself rather than on your external USB disk. But this is a similar one to what we saw before. This is a 5 terabyte Intenso drive, and that costs around £85, which is around $115. And I've put Amazon affiliate links to all these in the description below if you want to pick any of these up. But basically, if you followed my previous video on setting up your ScPrime miner on a Raspberry Pi, you'll know that ScPrime have decided that Raspberry Pis aren't really good enough, and potentially they're going to ban them in the future. So we do need to make sure that we move our system off onto a more dedicated and hopefully reliable system, certainly more powerful as well. So these systems here come with Windows 10 Pro pre-installed, so I'll go through quickly how you can back that up and create an image of that in case you ever did want to go back to Windows 10 Pro. But what we'll be doing is installing Ubuntu Server from a USB drive onto here, and then setting up all our scripts and bits and pieces. And then basically what I've done here is move the 5 terabyte drive from our Raspberry Pi onto the B-Link here, and our provider has been moved from the old on to the new. So if you have any questions at all or have any problems, do leave them in the comments down below and I'll try and help out where I can. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, as that really helps out the channel. If you want to say thank you, you can click on the join button and that helps out the channel as well. But without any further ado, let's get into the video, and we'll go through, first of all, like I say, imaging the Windows 10 Pro off here in case we ever want to go back to it in the future, and then installing the Ubuntu server. Right, so before you install Linux on your mini PC, you may want to back up or create an image of the system in case you ever want to go back to Windows at a future date. You'll have a backup of it just in case. So to do that, what you can do is go into the control panel. You can just right click the start button, hit on run, type control, press return, and that brings up the old fashioned control panel. And then in here, all you need to do is go to the backup and restore. And you'll see here, this is where I am now. What you can do is click create a system image, and you can select where you want it to go. I've just put mine on my P drive at the moment, but you can put it anywhere you like. You can even record it to a DVD or send it to someone on the network. And that just creates, like I say, a system image of the Windows system before you format it to put Linux on. Most people probably won't care, to be honest, but it is just worth noting that obviously when you do install Linux on here, the Windows OS will be gone. Okay, so let's download the latest version of the Ubuntu server. So if we go to download and then get Ubuntu server, we're going to do a manual server installation, and we're going to download the 21.10 version. So whilst that's downloading, we're going to download something called Rufus, and this will basically let us flash that onto our USB stick to boot off it as if it's a CD basically. So if you remember in the old days, you used to install things via CD. Nowadays you can install them via USB. So we're going to install the portable version here, and we can just open this here. Click on yes. I'm just going to click on no for the time being on here. So now what we're going to do is select our 64 gig flash drive that we've put in. Obviously your drive may look different to this, but now we're going to browse to our ISO image, the one that we've just downloaded. So it's in our downloads folder, and I'm just going to select that and click open. We can see what it's going to do. It's going to have the label of Ubuntu server, and we're all good to go. So you can literally just click on start, just press OK on the prompt that appears. Click yes to see if it can find an updated version of Grub. And it's just going to confirm or ask you to confirm that everything on the E drive will be deleted or destroyed. Once you click OK, we're OK with that because this is a brand new drive and it's completely empty. And now it's just going to write that to the drive. It will take a few minutes to complete, so once it's done, we're going to move back on to the mini PC and we're going to boot it off the USB stick and get Ubuntu installed. Right, so we're on our mini PC now. I'm going to plug in the USB image of Ubuntu. Okay, so you can see it's popped up here as the Ubuntu server. So now what we are going to do is restart the computer, and we want to boot off this drive here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to right click on start button, go to shutdown and sign out, and click restart. But get ready to press the delete key on your keyboard because we need to go into the BIOS and just set something up. So Click on restart and then just keep on tapping the delete key now. And if you've pressed it enough times, we should go into the setup of the computer itself. So what we want to change in here, if we go to the right, you can just use your keys on the keyboard to navigate around. What we want to do is go down to auto power on, just hit return here and set it to be power on, hit return again to select it. So this is just going to turn the computer back on if there's a power cut. It will come back on automatically after that happens. So that's something worth configuring. Now we're going to press save and exit, hit return. And now we're going to press another key here, which is the F7 key. So press F7 a few times and we'll bring up the boot manager here, or the select boot device. So here we can see our Kingston Traveller as it's named, and this is what we're going to be booting from to install the Ubuntu server. So hit return there. You can hit return again. And this will just load up. Okay, and now we can go through the setup of the Ubuntu server itself. Okay, so here we're just going to select our language. So I'm going to go with English UK. It's saying that there's actually a newer version of the installer available. So I'm going to do update to the new installer. You can just continue if you want, but I might as well download the latest version while we're here. Okay, we can now select our keyboard layout. So I'm going to just go up here. Okay, so we've detected the English UK. So we're going to click done. So I'm going to click done on this as well. We'll just install the full Ubuntu server. Okay, now we need to configure our network device. So we can see here it's detected our Ethernet cable is plugged in and we've got an IP address, so that's fine. If you wanted to set up your Wi-Fi, you could do, but I wouldn't recommend using Wi-Fi on this, to be honest, if you can avoid it. Going to skip past the proxy server and the mirror address, just click done here. Okay, it's going to ask us how we want to configure the storage. So we're going to use the entire disk here. Now this is my internal SSD. You can see here, that's the 128 gig one. So that's the one we're going to be using. So just confirm that you have got the right disk selected, because obviously everything will be deleted from this drive. So click on done when you're happy. This is just a summary of the information, so just click on done if you're happy. And don't forget, this is going to format everything that's on the drive, and it's just warning that you won't be able to return back to this screen after clicking continue. So we're going to click continue. So we're going to put our name in here, just press tab to go between the different fields. So the server name, let's give it a good name here, hex SCP. Now we can pick a username as well that we want to use for the system itself. Okay, once you're happy, click on done. Now I'm going to skip the installation of OpenSSH server. You can install it at a later date if you wanted to, but you can also install it obviously if you do want to remotely access your server from outside of your house. I'm not going to ever need to do that, so I'm going to click on done and not bother installing that. You're going to get a few different bits and pieces here of optional software that you can install if you wish. I'm not going to bother installing any of this. So I'm just going to press tab, click done. And this is it now. It's now installing in the background here. So once it's complete, we'll carry on with the setup. Okay, so we'll see that it says installation complete or install complete at the top there. So if we hit tab a couple of times, we can go to reboot now. We'll probably be asked to pull out our USB stick. Yep. So pull that out of your PC and hit return, and the system will now reboot. So now we should be booting straight into our new Ubuntu server. Take a few moments to start up. Okay, now we can log in with our new username that we set. And we can now do sudo su, pop in our password again, run df-h, and we'll just have a look at what we've got here. So we've got our 128 gig drive there. So now we are good to start copying our bits and pieces across from our old system onto the new one. Right, so there are going to be a few things we want to copy across, or at least make a backup of, so that we can transfer them onto our mini PC here. And those are the following. So we want to copy our startup script, we want to copy the unlock.seed, the DuckDNS script, and the details from the fstab. So what I'm actually going to do is copy them onto my USB backup stick here. So if you remember, we've got CD mount USB stick, and in here we've got our metadata being backed up into tar files as well as the actual main metadata folder itself. So this is a good space for us to store our backup scripts and seeds and any other information we want to take across to our mini PC for the transfer. So it's quite easy to do this. Let's just make a folder as well, just for fun. So we're going to do an mkdir, and we'll just call this transfer. So So in here we've got the folder transfer, so let's go cd transfer. Again, it's currently empty. So what we're going to do is just copy our scripts across. So we're going to do cp, which is copy. We'll start with the startup script first, which is in /user local bin SCP startup.sh. And the place we want to copy it to is going to be /mount USB stick /transfer. Now you don't have to type that whole destination address in, it depends where you are, but we'll do it in case you're in a different directory. So this is basically going to copy startup script into the transfer folder. So now if we do an ls, we can see the startup script has appeared. So we also want to copy across the unlock.seed. So again, cp for copy, /mount, and it was in our ScPrime current version, /unlock.seed or unlock.seed. And again, we're going to copy it to here. So I'm just going to select that and right click here just to paste that in, hit return. Now if we do an ls, we've got our unlock.seed backed up. So let's also copy our fstab. If you remember the fstab, if we just have a look at it in vi, cd vi/etc/fstab, we can see here this is what was mounting our disks to the system. So we've got our USB stick and our main external hard drive. Now, if you followed my second video, this is where all our metadata is now being kept on the external drive. So if you haven't followed that video, you do need to do that first because you may have a different setup to this. So anyway, we want to copy the file. We're not necessarily going to paste it in place on the new system, but we do want to ensure we've got these two lines here, which will help us remount our mount disk and our USB backup disk. So just do a colon and Q to quit out of here. So let's do a copy /etc/fstab. And again, if you right click, it should still be in your clipboard. I'm going to copy that to the transfer folder. Okay, next up we're going to copy our DuckDNS script. So it's a copy, then we're going to the title key /duckdns/duck.sh. And again, right click, hit return. Do an ls, and you can now see we've got all the files we need to be copied across onto our new system in order for things to be nicely automated as we had them before. Let's just have a quick look at our Crontab as well. So if we do a Crontab -l, you can see here these were the bits and pieces we put into the Crontab. In fact, if I do let's do a Crontab -e, so it's a bit more colourful here. So these are the bits and pieces that we will also need to copy into our new Crontab on the new mini PC. So I'm just selecting those as text. If we do a colon quit, we're going to create a file in here by doing vi Crontab backup. And now we're going to press I, and we're just going to paste by clicking right mouse button here. And this is all the bits and pieces we're copying from our old Crontab. So press escape, colon right and quit. And now we have, I believe, everything we need to transfer onto our new system. So we've got the details of what's in the Crontab, got our DuckDNS set up here, got our fstab details, the startup script, and the unlock.seed. So those are all now on our USB stick. So now on the mini PC, we'll move over to that and we will get set up with transferring these across and getting them all back into order, ready to get going. Okay, so we know in here we've got our fstab details from the old drives on the Raspberry Pi. So let's go back into here, just less and then fstab inside our transfer folder. And all we need to do is just copy these two lines here. So we're going to copy those into our clipboard by just selecting it. We're going to press Q to quit. And now we need to edit using vi on our local mini PC /etc/fstab. So this is the fstab that was generated in our new install. So we want to go down to the bottom here, press I to insert, press end to go to the last character of the line, and just hit return a couple of times. And now we're going to right click our mouse. And you can see here, this is setting up everything that we need. So we haven't plugged this one in yet, but we've got our USB stick plugged in. So we know that this will mount next time it reboots. And as soon as we do mount the external USB, it will pick it up and mount it too. So that's all good. We're going to escape, write and quit. And that is the fstab sorted. Okay, let's work on our SCP startup now. So if you remember from the Pi video, we had to create a daemon service. So we're going to do the same again here. So we're going to go to cd/etc/systemd/system. And in here, we're going to create the daemon service. So we're going to do vi scp-daemon.service. Hit return, and I'm just going to copy this from our Raspberry Pi because I did forget to put that on the transfer. So let's go to etc systemd system/scp daemon. So we can see this is all we need to put in here. So I'm going to copy this into my clipboard and go back to the mini PC here, press on I, and then just right click to paste that in. Okay, so now let's just press escape, write and quit. Okay, before I forget, we do need to set the permissions here on the daemon service. So we're just going to do that now. So what we need to do inside this folder is type chmod chmod 664 and then scp daemon service. So let's hit return there. And we'll see we should get an additional character appear here. Let's do another ls-lah. And we've now got read, write, read, write, read, whereas before we only had read, write, read, read. So that's all good to go. And now we want to copy our startup script. So if you saw in here, we are going to put our startup script in user local bin again. So let's go to cd/user/local/bin. You can see it's empty at the moment. Now we're going to copy our file across from the USB stick as we already have it. So to do that, all we need to do is say copy, which is cp, and then /mount/USB stick, and then the file, which is going to be in the transfer folder, scp startup.sh. So that's going to copy that, and then we're just going to do // which means to copy it to the current directory. Hit return, and now if we do an ls, we can see the startup script is now there. Okay, so we've done 2 of our 5 things that we need to sort out here. Okay, next up we want to get the ScPrime software itself. Now because we're not running this on a Pi, it uses a different architecture to run on, so we do need to download the latest version from the site. So first we're going to make a directory for it to run in. So let's just make one in the root as we did last time. So this is what it's like currently. We'll just do mkdir and just call it ScPrime. Okay, so we can see the folder there. So let's go inside there, cd ScPrime. And here's where we're going to download the zip file. So you can get the latest version off the site. Currently it's version 1.60, and as you can see it's the AMD 64-bit version here. So just hit return there. That will download. Now we need to install the unzipping application as well. So let's do sudo apt install unzip. Okay, so that's done. So now we can just run unzip and then just start typing ScPrime, hit return, and we're going to unzip the 1.60 folder. Nice and quick. So if we have a look inside here, we can see here our unzipped folder. Now what we could do is actually rename this to remove the version number so that we're not too worried about it actually having a version number. It's completely up to you really. We are going to create this Symlink obviously that links to here, but it may be worth just renaming this to be ScPrime install or something with less pointing at the fact it's version 1.60 basically. So to do that we can actually do something which is a move. So we're going to move, it's a bit strange, but we're going to move this, double click and right click to paste, and we're just going to call it ScPrime -install. Again, you don't have to do this at all, but I'm just doing it to make it easy in the future hopefully. So I'm going to hit return there. If we do another ls, we'll see that that folder's now been renamed. So now when we create our mount point, we can just link it straight to this folder and we don't even need to include the version 1.6.0 in the mount point itself. So we can have a look inside there. There's our SPD and SPC. So now we can make the symlink. So it's link ln -s. We're going to say from ScPrime install. I probably could have just left it with a capital C here as well. Let's change that because that's going to get annoying. So we're going to do another, let's come out of here first, cd dot dot. So we're going to do another move ScPrime install. I'm just going to call it ScPrime -install. I just find it easier without the lowercase c there. So there we are, we've got that there. So let's do a link ln -s /ScPrime /ScPrime install. I'm going to send it to mount /ScPrime current version. Now again, you can obviously call this whatever you like. I'm just doing this to sort of word it out a bit better so you know exactly what's going on here. Okay, so now let's go to cd mount. Have a look inside, we can see ls-lah. We've now got ScPrime current version pointing to the ScPrime prime install. So this is where we can, in our scripts, we're going to be obviously pointing to this, which is a shortcut to this. So having a look at our startup script that we've copied across already, we know that our unlock.seed needs to go into the ScPrime current version folder. So in that case, what we're going to do is copy it from, we're in our USB stick here again, so mount USB stick transfer. Here's our unlock.seed, so we can do copy cp unlock.seed, and we're going to copy it to mount /ScPrime current version. Slash on the end there. And that should now be inside that folder. Let's just go here and have a look. So cd /mount /ScPrime current version. Do an ls so we can see the unlock.seed has appeared. So we know that our startup script now can access our unlock.seed here. Let's just check our startup script in here. Make sure everything looks okay again. So we haven't got our metadata across yet. That is going to be on our USB disk that we plug in shortly. So when we plug in the drive and reboot, we should actually find that this mounts itself automatically because we've already got the mount set up in the fstab. We've got our unlock.seeds configured here. So that's all looking fine. So we do need to do the DuckDNS setup as well. So let's just go through that now. Let's work on the duck.sh here. So if you remember from last time, we had to create that in the root. So let's go to cd /root. Have a look inside here. There's not much going on. And in here is where we're going to make our DuckDNS folder. So make mkdir DuckDNS. We'll go inside that folder we've just made. And here we're going to copy across our duck.sh script from our USB stick transfer. So it's going to be quite an easy one to do. Let's do copy cp /mount /USB stick /transfer /duck.sh, and then just do / to copy it to the current location. Let's do an ls on there. We see the script is there. Now we'll just double check the permissions are okay on here because they need to be very specific. They are okay still. It's still green. We've got read, write and execute, so we don't need to worry about permissions here. So we can even test this out whilst we're here as well. So we can do / ducksh, hit return. See, it's gone through okay. And we should see our detailed log here. Let's just check that out as well. And we've got an okay message. Okay, so we're getting there slowly. We've now copied most things across from our USB stick. Let's just have a look what's left inside. So we've done the unlock.seed, we've done the startup, we've sorted the fstab, we've got DuckDNS set up. So now the last thing we need to do is actually sort out the Crontab. So let's have a look at what we had set up in our backup here. So I'm going to vi to that. So this is all we need to copy across basically. So select this into your clipboard. press Q, colon Q, sorry, colon Q to quit. Okay, so now we'll do a Crontab -E to edit, and we're going to use number 2, option number 2 here, as we did before. Okay, and this is our Crontab. So again, the text isn't very good color here, but we'll scroll down to the bottom, press I to insert, press N to go to the end of the line, hit return a couple of times, and then right click our mouse. This has added our Crontab config here. So remember, we've got the DuckDNS set up every 5 minutes. We've got the rsync to our mount ScPrime metadata folder. Now this hasn't been added in yet. This is on our external disk, but we'll obviously plug that in shortly. So this is going to go to our USB stick, which is still plugged in. We're then going to do our daily tar of the folder from the USB stick onto itself again, and then once a day as well, find any files that are older than 7 days and delete them. So one thing that I nearly forgot is to update your router with the IP address of your new node. So if you have given your new node a different IP address from your Raspberry Pi, which I imagine you have because you're going to be plugged in and on the same network, you need to make sure that you update the port forwarding on your router to point to the new IP address. So if you don't do this, obviously ScPrime won't be able to talk to the servers and vice versa. So make sure you do update your port forwarding on your router before you do the shutdown. I've set mine to have a static DHCP address from my router itself, so I always know what IP it's going to be. But if you want to set your IP address manually on your storage provider, then I've put a link down below in the description on how you can actually do that. Okay, so we are ready to shut down our new node. This is our old node, so I just thought I would get the details of what is currently on here. So we've actually got 19 gigabytes in use at the moment, so we do want to make sure this all works properly, obviously, once we switch this disk over to our new system. So just a word of warning, when you are ready to swap your main disk across, if you turn on your new computer without plugging the drives in, then you'll go into emergency mode because it can't find these UUIDs that it's trying to mount. So just bear that in mind. If you are going to reboot before plugging in your disk, you're going to have some problems. So that's why I'm going to make sure this is all correct, which it is. I'm going to shut this down by just doing shutdown. It'll be shut down in a minute. And once that's done, I'm going to shut down my Raspberry Pi version here, unplug the USB disk, plug it into my new mini PC version, and then power it back on, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're happy that's shut down now, so we're going to shut down our Pi as well, and then we can move the main disk across to our mini PC. Just to be nice, we're going to do an SPC stop to start with. That will stop the Daemon. Now we'll run the shutdown. And as soon as that's off, I'm going to grab the disk and stick it into the mini PC. And we should find that SPD starts up and everything is working as it was whilst on the Raspberry Pi. So far so good. I'm going to switch to PuTTY now and we'll log in and have a look. See, SPD is running, which is a good start. So let's have a look at our mount points and make sure it's all there still. So cd/mount. We can see ScPrime there. That's all looking good there, sorry. We've got the metadata, got a USB stick there ready for backups. So let's go into the current version. As I type the correct wording. Okay, so we're doing spc./spc host. It's probably still starting up. Yeah, it's still checking status, but we can see our storage is correct, which is good. We can also do an SPC wallet as well, just to make sure our wallet has been unlocked successfully, which it has indeed. So we've got our SCP waiting there. So now we're just going to keep running SPC host until we're happy that the connectivity or connectability status, as it says here, is running and working okay. I'm recording this a bit after the fact that I forgot the port forwarding in my firewall, but as soon as I sorted out the IP and got the port forwarding working again, I rebooted the host and it did come back and it is all working fine. So we're on 142.82 and we've got some additional data now. Again, since recording it has increased a bit. But yeah, just make sure you don't forget the port forwarding like I did. And like I say, set your IP address. You can do an IPA. Set your IP address of your node to either be static on the box itself or do it from your router. Most routers allow you to assign a sort of static address to your different devices, so try and do that if you can. I can't give you instructions for that because every router is slightly different, sadly, but that's how I've done it on mine, and then the router knows not to give out this address to anything else. So yeah, anyway, we're quite happy now that everything is okay. So we can see I didn't lose any SCP whilst I was offline. So it was offline for about half an hour or so while I was sorting out the port forwarding bit. But other than that, it all looks good. And the host is up and running on our new mini PC. Okay, so that's it. We've now successfully managed to transfer our ScPrime miner from our Raspberry Pi onto our little Beelink dedicated computer here. And there's a few niggles and glitches along the way, but obviously that can't be helped. It's the first time I've obviously gone through this, and that was whilst recording. And overall it went pretty well. It's just the fact I forgot to do the port forwarding in my firewall. So don't forget to do that, and you should be absolutely fine. So like I said, I've left Amazon affiliate links down below. If you don't want to buy any of this equipment and also move yours from the Raspberry Pi onto the Ubuntu PC, if you'd rather move onto Windows, then you can do. I have got a video on showing you how to set up on Windows, but you cannot transfer data from the Linux version to the Windows version, so you would lose any contracts that you have currently, which would be a bit of a shame, but that's just the way it is. But potentially it's a good idea to do that now rather than later, because it hasn't quite launched yet. It is going to launch on the 18th, so by the time this video is out, the service will have gone live. But in theory, you can just do this without too much of a hassle. Just get this set up first and make sure everything's 100% correct before you then shut down your Pi, move the disk over and power it back on. So anyway, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please do like and subscribe. Don't forget you can say thanks by clicking on the join button. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them where I can. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.